Hello YouTube, welcome to the third episode of my series. I thought it would be nice to have a change of scenery, and honestly I'm quite a bit nervous to do it in public, but it's not too crowded at this spot, so I'll be fine, I guess. So I mentioned I would desensitize every single day of this month, and yeah, I pretty much did. And because of this I learned a lot about this condition. So the first thing I want to talk about is being more vulnerable, being more sharing about having this. And so one major thing I did this month is that I'm working on this school project at school with about 10 people, and at the introduction I told them about having this condition, and in my mind I have these thoughts that when I share about having this, people will laugh at me, I will be bullied and ridiculed, and that people will not love me, and this is something that prevented me and still prevents me a bit from sharing. And what I've learned by sharing to this group is that actually no one laughed at all, and it actually made the rest of the project so far very much better, because people are now more compassionate when I'm being a long time at the toilet, and I also don't care as much about spending a long time because they know why I'm spending a long time. So this is good because more success means I get more confident. And if I would not have told them, it would have been a lot more difficult to avoid, because I would be thinking about what they would think about me spending a long time all the time, and this would really harm my progress. So in this way sharing really helped. And another thing I did is I shared a lot of individuals about having this, and what I learned from this is that actually in my mind the problem is way bigger than it actually is to other people. So to other people it's like when someone tells you they're afraid of public speaking. That's in general how people see it. The only people who actually see it as I do are people who have something likewise or also have this condition. And it's actually quite funny because the only people who ever laughed at me for having this were some of my best friends, and they didn't even mean it in a bad way. They meant it like, imagine you don't have this condition and someone is spending an hour at the toilet and being afraid of nothing. I mean, that's pretty funny, right? So another thing I want to talk about is reality war. So I watched this YouTube video about gradual exposure, but for spiders, and something he mentioned is that there are various stages in exposure. So the first stage is where the fear is rising, and then at some point there's a peak, and when you reach the peak and you stay there, the fear will actually decrease and you will become calm again. So with this in mind I went desensitizing, and one day in the beginning I spent a long time at the toilet. It was normal to spend over 20 minutes at toilets. But I would notice that when I was in a peak, my reality warped, and actually I saw my perception of reality like I was standing in a jungle with a lion in front of me. And I mean, that's really crazy because I'm in a toilet, and I thought it was something funny to share. So yeah, what else did I want to talk? Oh right, results. At the beginning of this month, the level of my exposure was at sounds. Sounds would really trigger me, so I would focus going to places with many stalls and with quite a bit of sound, and because in order to get that I would need a reasonable amount of people constantly visiting. So this is the first place I was visiting. This is in a library, and it had lots of stalls and urinals, so that I wouldn't be too worried about time pressure and I could really focus on sounds. And then this is another place. It only has 2 stalls, but it's reasonably quiet. There are only people visiting once in a while, and I feel quite safe at this place. So this is another place to practice for sounds. So I imagine when you hear I desensitize every single day, you must think I have made a very big progress now, but that's actually not true, because what happened was that for a couple days of the week or 1 week I would make major progress, and then my confidence would rise and I would start trying things that would be way more difficult and I would fail really hard. Imagine spending like really an hour on the toilet, and that's really impacted me for the rest of the week because it put some tension on me and it knocked me off my streak. And so this happens on and on. I would go up and down again, and this is something I have to keep in mind for the rest of the journey, to really make sure I rise gradually and avoid going to these very difficult situations suddenly, because this really messes up the progress. So the toilets I've been going to this time were they had lots of stalls and they were a bit crowded but not too crowded. And at one of these places there were actually also automatic flushing toilets, and these are really annoying. Wow. So the last thing I want to talk about is confidence boost in other areas of life. So what I've noticed is that when I was going on a nice streak, I would see that the other social phobias I had, which are finding very minor in comparison with this, they would also decrease. So something I would struggle with was, for example, approaching new people, and this would suddenly become very easy. So this is a nice side effect. Well, for the next month I'm planning to focus more on the literature available of other people overcoming this, and I'll study that so that I won't have to find out everything myself. Well, I'll see you in March I'll see you next month for the March report.